Do you really think you know who controls the world? Not some secret society like the Illuminati, but it's the biggest powerhouse hiding in plain sight. This is 20 facts that the Vatican Pope is the Antichrist. And if you're Catholic, you're going to want to watch this video, because it might save your soul. Welcome to the LAZLOW Zone.
Discretion is advised.
I don't know what's going to happen in American politics. I really don't. I do know that in order for a president to be effective, he better bring a set of principles from which he will not deviate and articulate them as clearly as he can, and then not worry about, immediate popularity, because popularity comes and goes, but what doesn't change are solid principles. And I'm going to remind his Holy Father how important his voice is, and making it easier for politicians like me to be able to kind of stand and defend our positions that are, I think, very important positions to take.
Mr. President, final question.
Yes, sir.
You said famously, when you looked into Vladimir Putin's eyes, you saw his soul.
Yeah.
When you look into Benedict XVI's eyes, what do you see?
God.
Number 1. Who killed Jesus for real? The Jews lacked motivation to kill Jesus. And why would the king of the Jews be killed by the Jews? According to historians, it's more logical to blame the Romans for Jesus' death. The crucifixion was customary punishment among the Romans, not the Jews. At the time of Jesus' death, the Romans were imposing a harsh and brutal occupation on the land of Israel, and the Jews were occasionally unruly. The Romans would have had the reason to want to silence Jesus because of some of his followers. The king of the Jews, he was known as a Jewish upstart miracle worker. The Jews, on the other hand, lacked the motive for killing Jesus. In different factions of the Jewish community, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Antichrist and other lands had many disagreements with one another, but did not lead any of the groups to arrange the execution of other alleged heretical group leaders. It is therefore unlikely they would have targeted Jesus. Revelation 13:4 says, "And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with them?" Who is able to make war with them? They're talking about the Roman Catholics. The Catholics, nobody could go to war with them. Nobody did. And they still can't. And they still won't. Number 2. The Pope calls himself God and the Holy Father. It's clear that the popes have never reproved or rejected the title of blasphemy and flattery, but the Bible does not support the belief of papal infallibility. It declares that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. This includes the Pope. These boasts of the papal state fulfill the Bible's prediction of what the Antichrist power would do. Daniel 7:25 says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High. He shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change the times and the laws." Revelation 13:5 and 6 says, "And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 20 months, which is 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and was in the tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven."
New World Order will fail. It's Antichristo. The New World Order will fail. Repent and turn to the real Messiah.
Number 3. Only God can forgive your sins. Confession booths are not mentioned in the Bible. Mark 2:7 says, "Why does this man talk this way? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" So only God can do this. It is an abomination. It's a perversion. And only God can be the forgiver because he has provided a substitute sacrifice. He is the only one offended. He's the judge, the lawgiver, the executioner, and the only one, therefore, with the power and authority to pardon the guilty sinner. not the Pope. And that is the message of Christianity. This is a singular heart and soul of gospel and good news that God will forgive your sins, not the Pope. And that means you will escape eternal punishment and you will escape eternal hell. Luke 5:24 says, "But so that you may know that the Son of God has the authority on earth to forgive sins." Once again, not the Pope. Number 4. The Catholic Church worships the Mother Mary and the Divine Feminine, the Sun God worship. Of course, the Roman Catholic Church has adopted this mother-child worship, also in the form of Mary and Jesus. Notice the halo sun and the Baal symbol behind the head of baby Jesus. Another image of pagan sun god worship, the pagan priest offers offerings to the sun god. A statue of Semiramis and her child Nimrod, Tammuz, the pagan mother and child worship with a halo as a sun god. The symbol of Baal over Pope Benedict. Here's an ancient symbol of the sun god worshippers in Assyria. Notice the crest moon holding the sun god. Here's a pope sitting at the papal throne in Vatican. Notice the great sun emblem above the throne. The sun god on a high priest of pagan Egypt. Not so different from other priests sitting on thrones. Notice the circle on his head. This is sun god worship. Exodus 24:5 says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water above the earth. Thou shalt not bow down themselves to them, nor serve them. For I am the Lord thy God, and am a jealous God, visiting in iniquity of the fathers above the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." Number 6. There are so many satanic statues and skeletons inside and under the Vatican. In Rome, in the Catholic Church, there are skeletons. There's also one that is depicting the unveiling of the darkness, which is disturbing. And under the Vatican, in the crypts, there are 4,000 skulls that are decorated in a horrific sight. In the crypt, which is the heart of Rome, is decorated with a painting of Jesus, skull and bones, and 2 corpses. And the Roman Catholic priests even hung a skeleton under the roof to be adored and worshipped. This is so-called art that serves their place of worship. And the Pope also prays over skulls and corpses, which is defined as death worship, which is a key part in a Luciferian cultism. This is sorcery from the evil one. Witches use skull and bones for their ceremonies. In Revelation 18, 4-8, it says, Messiah has commanded you to come out of the harlot of the Church of Rome. Come out of her, my people, that ye may be not partakers in her sin, and ye that receive not her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double, according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled full to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judges her. Number 6. The Pope's Audience Hall is a building designed to look exactly like a reptilian or a snake. Have a good look at this image and compare it to the shape of the image of the snake beside it. The overall shape is wide, narrow, eyes in the middle, nostrils, teeth in the center, and it resembles a reptilian eye. Pay attention to the whole building and look at the layout and look how the eyes are staring at you in the fangs. It's all there. In the middle of the stage sits the statue of Christ from an atomic apocalypse.
The Resurrection, located in the Vatican's Paul VI Audience Hall, is receiving some restoration work, which is scheduled to finish by December 9th. The statue can often be seen behind the Pope during his general audiences that are held in the hall. October 3rd also marked the 34th anniversary since the statue was introduced to the hall by its creator, Pericle Fazzini. Fazzini created the statue to show Jesus rising from the crater of a nuclear bomb. The Resurrection is made from red bronze and yellow brass and measures 66 feet tall and 23 feet wide.
Research demonstrates that there is a deep state that governs our whole world, a group of people that aren't American or European or Russian or Canadian, but beyond that, a national identity. They control the entire world. It has been said for a long time that there is an influence of extraterrestrials there as well. Not from all races of ETs, but from one in particular, the reptilians. Not all reptilians are defectors of the heart, but a group, just like a group of humans, that has worked to influence our planet. The United Nations is not run by humans alone. Number 7. The Vatican is hiding alien skulls. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Karen Hughes was interviewed by Future Money Trends. When midway through the interview about conspiracies concerning global economy, she reveals that aliens have been hiding in the Vatican. When executive professionals such as Karen begin speaking about these coming events, we need to start paying more attention.
I've been studying the economic collapse for almost 10 years now, and Austrian economics, and I haven't seen too many things on the Vatican. You've mentioned them several times. Well, if you could just introduce people and just kind of let them know, what is your overall theory? And I know you actually touched on a lot here, but who's calling the shots at the Vatican? I'm assuming it's not the Pope.
Well, there's something called the Black Pope, but that's not the ultimate reason why we've been in the fix that we're in. What we have found out, and this sounds implausible, but it is absolutely correct. The fact that it's been held in secret doesn't mean that it's not true. It is true. There's a second species on this planet. They're not extraterrestrials. They're very much with us. They made maps in the previous ice age. The remnants of their civilizations are all over the place. A lot of times along the coast, it's submerged because the sea level has gone up by 400 meters. But this group has large brains. They're very distinct from Homo sapiens. Their DNA is so different that if the two species mated, their offspring would be infertile. And we know this because their DNA was just tested. They have skulls all over the place because they have been on Earth with us. But after the Ice Age, there weren't that many of them. And so they've been hiding. And one of the places that they've been hiding is in the Vatican. That's why the Vatican are wearing those meters. It turns out that that's also what the high priest wore in the early beginnings of Judaism. Moses was actually Akhenaten, who was a pharaoh. They know this because the papyrus that was taken from one of the pyramids talks about this. The people that are doing archaeology in Israel know this. And the reason is that not only is Homo capensis trying to keep human beings under control by divide and conquer using our money system, they've also been doing this with our religions, organized religions, trying to get human beings to hate people of different religious faiths so that they will kill each other off, so that the people in the back of manipulating human beings could stay in, what can I say, could use us like cattle. That's what's been going on through our history.
Okay, Karen, you are an attorney. You worked for the World Bank for 20 years. What you're saying is this is on the fringe of conspiracy. It sounds crazy. So, I mean, obviously you've had to come to terms with this. What have you seen that has made you so confident to actually say this kind of stuff publicly?
Because they have been going to meetings. I sent an email to a fellow in Portugal, and the next day he went to a meeting of bankers, and he sent me back an email saying that at that meeting there had been a big-skulled individual with bright blue eyes. Another person in touch with Dr. Edward Spencer, who's a retired neurologist, he's the one who started telling me about this. Mm-hmm. A friend of his was in Egypt and saw these Homo capensis running around. Their skulls are all over the planet. It's not a conspiracy theory. Just because this group likes to hide and likes to accuse people of having conspiracy theories doesn't make these facts wrong. They're facts.
No, they don't. And I struggle with a lot of conspiracies because, of course, like let's say the moon landing or something, where it would take, at least probably 100 people. They got to keep us. It's hard to keep a secret. So, it just is. It's hard to keep secrets. And especially when you've got people like you saying stuff, but then of course no one listens. So what is your thinking? What do you think? How is the world going to unfold over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's not true that nobody's thinking. Nobody's listening. I can tell you, I am working within a coalition. Why is it that you think the Russians are not counterattacking with what happened in the Ukraine? How do you account for the United States toppling a legal elected government in the Ukraine? This is a terrible scenario. This would mean a World War III, except for the fact that the Russians know full well that enough Americans are aware of the manipulations of the banksters. All wars are bankers' wars.
Number 8. The Vatican may be hiding secret alien technology and time travel. WikiLeaks released a claim that the CIA are using our TVs and smartphones to listen in our everyday conversations. But what the Australian hacker did not reveal is any of the technology that the CIA can use to manipulate time. Underground researchers are concerned about the hidden truth of the world's most powerful governments have access to time travel, and that the public deserves to know.
One hushed-up time travel device you might not have ever heard of is the chronovisor. The chronovisor is the name given to a machine that was said to be capable of viewing past and future events. Invented by Father Ernetti, an intellectually brilliant priest and Benedictine monk, He claimed to have evoked the insights of modern physics with ancient occult knowledge of the astral planes to build in secret a time machine known as the chronovisor. He asserted that using the chronovisor as his eyes and ears, he had watched Christ dying on the cross and attended a performance of the now-lost tragedy, Thyestes, by the father of Latin poetry in Rome in 169 BC. This type of time machine would bring images and audio from the distant past into the present. Time machines that transport people seem well beyond anything our technology can build, but what about an instrument that just deals with pictures and sounds? Something as simple as a mirror is really a type of chronovisor. We don't see ourselves in the mirror as we currently are, but as we were just a few millionths of a second before, the time it takes the light to travel from our face to the mirror, reflect off, and return to our eyes. Can this principle be adapted? The distant galaxies we view through large telescopes around the world don't actually look like they are today, but as they would have looked when the light left them billions of years ago. If a scientist on a planet 200 light years away had a powerful enough telescope that he could view activities on Earth, he wouldn't see us waving back with our own technology, but life as it was 2 centuries ago. He would see the Industrial Revolution, not the International Space Station or skyscrapers in New York City. If it's possible to see into the past of a distant galaxy using a telescope, why can't a device be built that would allow us to peer into history here back on Earth? Telescopes can peer into the universe's past, but what part of history they view of course depends on how far away the object is. A star 500 light years away can only be seen as it was 500 years ago, not as it was hundreds of years earlier. We can only view what is visible from Earth. We can't see what's on the other side of Orion no matter how hard we try, it'll always remain beyond our reach. The device described by Father Inetti is proof possible by physics, yet we remain in the dark about the secrets he discovered.
Number 9. The Roman Catholic Church changed the 10 Commandments and the day of the Sabbath. Thou shalt not kill is the 6th commandment, not the 5th. That is because the Roman Catholic false religion has removed the 2nd commandment. They removed the 2nd commandment, splitting the 10th into 2 so that they still have 10, because the Roman Catholic Church false religion is overrun by graven images, which ultimately they aim to deceive the whole world into worshiping the image of the beast, which is a great deception. Revelation 13:15 says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many that would not worship the image of the beast be killed." The Vatican also changed the Sabbath day to Sunday instead of Saturday as another form of sun god worship. So know that if you're attending church on a Sunday, you're breaking the 10 Commandments and partaking in sun god worship and you're unaware of it, which basically that is technically the mark of the beast, because you are partaking in the beast's ceremonies. Technically, Saturday is the Sabbath, so you are fulfilling the commandments by having Sabbath on Saturday. I believe that the mark of the beast in the right hand is what you do, and the mark of the beast in the forehead is what you believe. So if you believe in the Catholic faith, then you're basically deceived and you have the mark of the beast, because the Vatican is the beast, which represents a nation in the Bible. Number 10. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope and runs the world. Abraham Lincoln blames the papacy for civil war in these words: "This war would never have been possible without the sinister and secretive influence of the Jesuits. We owe it to popery that we now see our land reddened with the blood of our noblest sons." Lincoln also added, "I am for liberty of conscience in its noblest, broadest, and highest sense, but I cannot give liberty of conscience to the Pope and his followers, the papacy, as long as they tell me, through their councils, theologians, and canon laws, that their conscience orders them to burn my wife, strangle my children, and cut my throat when they find the opportunity." Because of Abraham Lincoln's many exposés against the Vatican, he was put to death, just as he foretold. Yes, assassinated by the Jesuits under Rome's instructions. The Vatican has not changed. When JFK was asked by the Vatican, "Are you going to go along with the Roman canon laws or the U.S. Constitution?" Kennedy said, "The U.S. Constitution." This was President Kennedy's final mistake, because they killed him. Just so you know, President Donald Trump is also a Jesuit, trained operative. Notice him here at a Jesuit annual dinner with Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Henry Kissinger, and Timothy Dolan. They went to an annual Jesuit function, which is usually full of New World Order types. They are said to constitute the Black Church, and thus adhere to the same satanic religion as the world's elite bankers supposedly hold. The leader of the Jesuit order is commonly referred to in conspiracy circles as the Black Pope, whose signature staff is a crooked cross.
For the keynote speech of the Pope's 4-day French tour, a display of bronze nudes had been removed from the lobby for fear of offending the papal entourage. The Parliament's only Democratic Unionist MEP had given advance warning of his interruption. In the event, the Pope could barely begin his greeting.
First of all, permit me to say how much
The Pope remained calm, clearly anticipating the heckler in the back row. Mr. Paisley quoted a 16th century anti-papist slogan as furious Euro MPs threw papers at him in disgust, snatching the poster. Parliamentary President Lord Plum had no choice.
Mr. Paisley, I call you to order and I ask you to stop this disturbance.
There was another poster in his pocket for each one snatched away. The Pope, waiting with a text which spoke of Europe as the beacon of civilization, looked on with faint amusement.
Mr. Paisley, I now exclude you from this house and for the remainder of the sitting.
Mr. Paisley claims he was punched and that he later received a personal apology from the head of security for failing to protect him. The poster stated simply, John Paul II, Antichrist.
Number 11. Trump plans to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, which is fulfilling Bible prophecy, the abomination of desolation, which is in Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore see the abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, let them that be in Israel flee into the mountains, for then shall be great tribulation, such that was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. It is prophesied that on the day that the Antichrist sit in the throne of the rebuilt third temple in Jerusalem and declares himself to the world to be God, there shall be false signs in the sky, made by man, not by God, and shall signal the Antichrist is arrived and the great tribulation has begun. And 3.5 years there shall be great cataclysms and destruction onto the world that the world has never seen before. And may God be with us on that day.
Face. Face. Holy frig.
Collapse of a crane over what has become an increasingly busy construction site around the Grand Mosque in Mecca was bad weather, rain, severe rain and heavy winds that caused the temperature, according to CNN's weather experts, to drop from 42 degrees centigrade to 25.
Number 12. The Vicar of the Son of God. The Latin equivalent of the Greek word anti is vicarious, from the word vicar. Thus, Vicar of Christ literally means Antichrist. Couldn't get much more clearer than that. Revelation 13:16 says, "And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads, and that no man shall buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which is 666. Thank you guys for watching the Lazlow Zone. Please share it with your friends. Also, I made a GoFundMe campaign in the description below. You can find it. Also, I have PayPal. Any donation would help. It would get me out of this camper and support my channel so I can make more cool videos like this and do a lot more research. So it's just me running this channel, so it takes a lot of time for me to do all this editing and everything. So thanks for all your support, and peace out.